What's up everybody? So in case I'm looking a little shorter than usual, it's simply because I was gone on a trip very recently and I sprained my ankle pretty bad. As a result, I can't really bear my own weight right now. Anyway, that's enough about my life story. Let's get to the point you came here for. This is the brand new iPhone 15 Pro. It's been creating a lot of buzz and hype. And look, there's thousands of unboxing initial impressions videos out there. I figured I'd focus on things that you would immediately notice if you were to get an iPhone 15 Pro right now. Whether you're coming from a previous iPhone or entirely new to the iPhone lineup, these are things you can expect to see from the get-go. Let's start with the packaging. After all, that's where the Apple experience truly begins. Just like previous years, the packaging dimensions here remain more or less the same, so you still have that slim box, courtesy of the lack of a charging brick, of course. Now you will notice you have a updated design with the brand new iPhone 15 Pro, and of course Apple's newest iconic wallpaper. Boy, are they good at choosing that. Anyway, on the backside, it's eco-friendly packaging, so you have two paper pull tabs. Once you pull both of those tabs, which is extremely satisfying by the way, the box will just glide right open. Inside, first and foremost, the 15 Pro in the natural titanium color, and it does look stunning, but more on that in a quick minute. Past that, of course, you do have some protective packaging, so remove that, and then you can see the screen on the front. Anyway, one big change you'll notice this year is you have a USB-C to USB-C charging cable because Lightning is officially gone and it's braided. Boy, is Apple feeling nice today or what? But the point is that this should last longer than your average cable. And then finally, you have a paper envelope just like previous years. One thing I want to point out is that we have a SIM ejection tray. My friends in the US might be a little envious right now because I hear that they only have a eSIM, so they don't actually have an ejectable SIM tray, something that seems to be, well, a little bit unfortunate in my opinion. Okay, so now let's focus on design. I'm going to just talk about the things that you would notice right out of the box pretty much. Firstly, something that I think has been underplayed on video reviews anyway, is the bezels. They are significantly thinner. Yes, they've only shaved off a few millimeters from each side if you look at it one by one. However, holistically, this looks like a far more immersive display. And this is especially true if you compare it to, let's say, iPhone 14 Pro. The bezels seem visibly thicker on that. You'll get used to it very quickly, and yes, after a while you forget that the bezels are thinner, but it is still a nice aesthetical appeal. It is worth noting at a hardware level there have been no modifications to the existing dynamic island. It's exactly the same as it was on the 14 Pro, and I'm all for it. The next big change worth noting is the titanium band on the sides of the iPhone. Now this has completely changed from the stainless steel band that we had, and I'll be honest, I don't necessarily feel it's any more premium looking per se than the stainless steel. In fact, I'd say that had its own different kind of shine to it and brought its own premiumness. However, what I will say is that the brush sides do bring a more unique element and do bring a bit of a more updated or refreshed design look overall that I personally appreciate. Now the real advantage here, however, by far is the significantly increased resistance to fingerprints. So if you remember the iPhone 14 Pro, for example, that thing was a absolute fingerprint magnet. In contrast to that, while not entirely immune to fingerprints, it takes a lot longer for this thing to capture fingerprints, and as a result, you don't have to clean it nearly as often. It does capture moisture to some degree, so you will, like I said, still have to clean it every now and then, but I really think this is a huge advantage. I also want to state the fact that if you're coming from an iPhone 13 or 14 Pro, then you will immediately realize this phone does in fact feel a little bit lighter. The difference on its own merit is not dramatic, it's only 20 grams lighter. However, when you have the 14 Pro in one hand and this phone in the other, you can definitely tell the difference. A huge shout out to today's video partner, CaseCoo. If you're looking for a nice protective phone case for your brand new iPhone 15 Pro, these guys might have the perfect kickstand case for you. So it comes in a nice little box over here. Once you open it up, there's a few things. First, you have this nice sticker palette with all these unique stickers, really cute and cool at the same time. But behind some protective packaging, you have a case. And this thing looks really nice in both color and form. So it is semi-transparent, and the thing I like over here is that it's really well insulated. So firstly, your phone fits in nice and snug. It's not gonna fall off. You have lips around the corners to make sure that you don't scratch your phone in case you have it downwards facing. And also, you'll be happy to know that you have bumpers across all these corners and edges. So if you ever drop your phone, it's fully protected. And then additionally, they have the right layouts for USB-C as well as the action button, and it's all there. Now on the back side, you'll again notice you have some nice protection around the camera lenses themselves to make sure you don't scratch them or they don't get damaged if you accidentally drop your phone. And then you have the actual kickstand mechanism. So it just pops right out, and then you can keep your phone in a horizontal or vertical position. It's very utilitarian and very useful. And like I mentioned, they have a number of colors. There's like blue, there's also, I believe, gray, and then there's also a black case, so plenty of options. You can check and learn more on their website. Another change that's a little bit more subtle and takes a minute to notice is that you now have slightly rounded edges at the corners of the display, and same thing for the back plate. The result here is that this phone is a little bit more comfortable to hold than the iPhone 13 or 14 Pro, which were painful to hold because they're extremely sharp linear edges. So there is an ergonomic benefit, though it's worth noting this phone is still nowhere as comfortable to hold as the iPhone 11 Pro was thanks to its fully rounded edges, but I guess you get to keep that linear design while getting a boost in ergonomics, so it's a fair trade-off. Before I move on to the backside, I want to quickly talk about the button layout. So on one side, of course, you still have the standby or power button, all same there, and then on the other side you have the volume rockers, which are in the exact same position. What has changed, however, is the iconic mute switch has been replaced with a one press action button. That's right. And look, at first glance, it sounds like a very primitive feature to add, but this thing has a lot of utility now that I've tried it out for a bit. For example, you can set any of the basic functions like the ability to still put stuff on mute or have a certain focus enabled or turn on voice memo in case you need to record someone, I guess, creepy as that might sound. But then you also have Siri shortcuts, so you can open any app of your choice, and I'm sure as the community plays along with it, they'll learn more cool Siri shortcuts you can do with it. So there is a lot of potential for something that's just a single button, and it's a feature that I think will very quickly become recognized as an essential feature for future iPhones. So on the backside, you'll notice there really isn't a whole lot to talk about in terms of changes, aside from, of course, the new color tone going over here. You will be happy to know that the camera bump, at least visually, hasn't gotten any larger, and also the individual lenses aren't any larger either. Thank goodness for that. They've been growing like cancer for the past few years, and this time they're just staying put. Now, other than that, again, like I said, you have a matte finish, just like you did with the 14 Pro, and at the center, you have a shiny Apple logo, which is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, unfortunately. The final change, and probably the most requested one, from Apple's perspective anyway, is the addition of a USB-C port. Now look, at a visual distance, you actually can't tell this thing apart from the existing Lightning port that we have on iPhone 14 Pro, for example, but at a finger's distance, you're immediately able to recognize it as a USB-C port. I was in such disbelief of this that the first thing I did after unboxing the iPhone was actually plug in a USB-C cable to see if it is in fact a USB-C port, and I'm happy to report that it very much is. And no, you're not dreaming, it's finally happened. Now, it is worth noting that the cable Apple provides, while braided, does not support the fast USB 3.2 speeds that you would get, so you will have to buy a separate cable if you want to take advantage of that 10 gigabits per second transfer speed, assuming that's of course relevant for you in the first place. There are a number of other features and details that I'm not talking about in this video, as it's just an impressions video. For example, the camera has also received additional upgrades compared to last year's model. We will do a proper camera test, and I will release that as part of my full review for this phone, which is planned in a couple weeks from now. We'll also talk about the faster Wi-Fi speeds thanks to Wi-Fi 6E, and also the fact that you can now use your iPhone 15 Pro as a power bank thanks to USB-C. Of course, there's many other features as well, and like I said, we'll cover all of them in a more detailed review a couple weeks on out, once I've had the appropriate amount of time to review this phone and truly give you guys a comprehensive idea of what the 15 Pro is capable of. Let me know if you enjoyed the content. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up as well as a subscription to the channel if it's your cup of tea. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.